Jesus says, if your eyes cause you to sin, pluck them out. So it actually, he advocates for the opposite. Like, if you have a problem with what I'm wearing,
take your eyes out. I love that. Love what Jesus said there. I love his work there.
Hi, beautiful people. Today I want to introduce you guys to Miss Alexis G. Zall. She is an amazing YouTuber. A lot of her content is about forcing people to look at, I don't know, how would I describe this?
I'm so interested in your description of it.
I would say the concept is that you use comedy to make people face their biases and their misunderstandings about things happening in culture and sexuality and gender. And it feels very gentle and not aggressive because you're like, I'm also laughing at the same time.
That was so well said. That is exactly what I'm trying to do.
I love that.
Thank you.
What made you passionate about combating certain issues in this way, using comedy?
The first video I made that was kind of in the style that I now make most of my videos in was called Why I'm Gay with illustrations. And basically I had sat down with my friend Gabby Dunn to write a sketch, and we were both just catching up beforehand. We were talking about different frustrating things that happen as queer women, and then I was like, okay, well, let's get focused, let's start writing it. And Gabby was like, no, let's write a sketch about this. And so a lot of my videos have kind of going forward from that become about the things that I find frustrating or the things that I wish people saw from my perspective. So I like to say I want my channel to be a resource for every stupid question, or if you're oh, I don't know if I can ask that, I don't know if I can ask, why do gay people need pride? Is that offensive? I just want it to be a way for everyone to get educated, but without judging where you're coming from.
So this video is going to be an accompaniment to Alexis releasing a little sketch. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, sketch.
Sketch. Okay. A sketch that we did on her channel, which I was so blissed out and happy to do. I just had this visual of wanting to showcase how abusive we can be towards children by just presenting some of these Christian ideals that are really toxic and have historically hurt people very deeply. If you're offended by some of the things that I say playing the wife or Cameron says playing the husband, you have to remember they're directly coming from Christian teachers. And also I want to dive into some of the more toxic Christian videos and stances because Alexis is somewhat familiar, and I familiarized her even more with toxic theology while we were writing and working on this script. But I really would like you to just see the honest and genuine reaction from someone that's not familiar with this kind of doctrine.
I'm so excited / very nervous to watch all of these videos because
it's terrifying.
I've not seen anything like this before.
So are we ready to dive into these terrifying videos?
I'm scared. It's going to stress me out.
It's stressful. It stresses me out on a daily basis. So this first clip is from a sermon, and when I saved this sermon, I titled it The Worst Sermon Ever. And I've heard a lot of terrible sermons, but it comes from the Bethel Church up in Reading by a pastor named Chris Valentin, who I've actually heard is an advocate for women and says some beautiful things, but I can tell you this particular sermon is a disaster. Before we start, can you tell me a little about the gay agenda?
Yeah, so ever since I chose to be gay, my goal was to just get what do people
just
first of all, I can't believe that's a real thing. That's completely something my friends and I would joke about, and make fun of me, oh, our gay agenda. My gay agenda is what's in my to-do list for the day, my gay agenda.
Call my mom, make breakfast, brush my teeth, destroy the fabric of society is on there. I mean, we're teasing people, but look, it is that ridiculous that Christians perpetuate this idea and this fear that gay people are out to get you.
My personal gay agenda is just just making people feel comfortable as you are.
That's disgusting.
That's the most agenda I have.
So here's a little clip of what Chris says about LGBTQ people basically being a threat to society as a whole.
Cool.
If your core value is, if I feel it, I am it, then why would you stop anything else? If the foundation of who I am is what I'm attracted to. How many know there is no bottom to that cesspool? How does the fit into that?
I have answers for his questions. The main difference between being gay and being a is consent.
Yes.
Me saying it's okay to be queer is not the same as me saying go ahead and follow all of your whims and desires. It's saying that it's okay to be who you are as long as it's not hurting anyone. Animals can't consent.
Passed out girls can't consent. So it's not about a slippery slope. It's, am I causing harm? Is there consent involved? If the answer is no, then no, you're not having biblical sex. Okay, so for this clip, it's just going to be a quote from an ebook that a pastor named Lisa Bevere put out. I did an entire response video to this if you guys want to check it out, but I really wanted to see how the language strikes you as an outsider. On October 2nd, Lisa posted an ebook titled, You're Worth the Wait. Underneath it reads, there's a danger in giving ourselves away too soon. We forfeit our dignity, honor, and strength. If, like me, you've known the bitterness of regret, know this. You can experience the joyous flood of mercy. Ultimately, you are worth the wait.
I mean, I think that the thing here is like it's just making sex all about men, and it's making women the holders of this commodity that men want. Like, why is it not something that you are sharing with your partner? Why is it something that one has to give to the other? It just makes it transactional.
I feel like some of the women in the older generation of the church were really taught that sex is our power, that if we hold on to it and don't give it away, that men will be more prone to marry us and actually commit.
And like, don't you want a man who likes you not because you tricked him?
Well, what about the concept of forfeiting your dignity, as the quote goes?
I don't understand. So it's
That's good. How lucky you are to not understand that.
What does she think that means?
It breaks my heart that she thinks that's even a possibility. If you look at the word dignity, that is such a heavy thing to say that someone is going to lose for participating in a sexual activity.
Like, why don't men respect you anyway? Why is it not on men to just respect women? Why is it on women to beg for respect and to have to hold back what they want? Sex is vulnerable and it's intimate, and I feel like the people that you've shared that with, you should extra respect and extra be kind to.
So how do girls who are modest view the immodest girls?
I think it's just hard to have respect for them because when you see someone dressing like that, you kind of think they don't respect themselves.
Like, they're very insecure. You can tell.
It's sad.
When you don't even respect yourself, how do you expect someone, especially of the opposite sex, to respect you?
How you dress affects me.
You're out running, you're at the gym, you're even at church.
And in those moments, I immediately feel something is wrong with me.
If there's one thing I could say to you, it's this.
Your modesty
Is a gift to me.
You appear to be having some reaction.
Oh my god. I couldn't have written something that made fun of itself so well. The biggest issue is for some reason, men are using the Bible to say women are responsible for how I feel around them. Women are responsible if I'm attracted to them. That's their problem.
You want to know an ironic side note?
Yeah.
Jesus says, if your eyes cause you to sin, pluck them out. So he advocates for the opposite.
So,
if you have a problem with what I'm wearing,
take your eyes out. I love that. Love what Jesus said there. I love his word there. Why are they not being held accountable for their reactions in these situations? If I'm exercising in a sports bra, I am not thinking about you. I'm thinking, oh my god, I'm so tired. I'm so out of breath. The way I dress has literally nothing to do with men or anyone.
Playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
What would you say about a woman that is trying to get attention? She's on Instagram in the sports bra doing squats for your pleasure.
And that's great for her because her sexuality is her own and the way that she chooses to express herself is for her, and if you have a problem with it, pluck your eyes out.
Yeah.
Or mute her, unfollow her.
Yeah, the modern version.
The modern version of plucking your own eyes out.
And I always have to be fair to men too. That breaks my heart. When the one guy says it makes me feel he says something like abnormal or crazy or something, and it's just Well, yeah, purity culture, this modesty culture is what we call those clips in particular, are about making both sexes feel completely insane. Because men are not supposed to be lusting after women, and the women aren't supposed to be causing that lust.
Like that man who's saying, oh, it makes me uncomfortable, like probably even if he's with his wife, he's uncomfortable, because like you can't just get rid of that baggage.
Yeah.
They feel like they have to live their lives so shrouded in shame and pain for the way that they intrinsically feel.
When it's not so salacious and it's not like the heaviest, darkest, most awful thing that can possibly happen, then men and women alike are more susceptible to processing it in a healthy way.
Yeah, like my body is not inherently sexual. My body will be there with me in sexual situations, but like me changing clothes is not sexual. Like maybe I need to get from one outfit to another.
Yeah.
If you want to feel sexy while you're working out, why is that bad? What would people like? What's the argument?
Within evangelical Christianity, there's this phrase about not causing people to stumble. And it's one of the main tools, Bible verses plucked out of context, that we've used to justify modesty culture primarily. If I look sexy and a guy goes home and masturbates over it or violates me even, that I caused him to stumble and that was my sin.
Okay.
And then his sin was the result of that, and that is my bad.
You're not responsible if a guy lusts after you. You didn't do that. There's nothing you can do. It's the human life. It's then up to you to make sure, okay, is this consensual? Like, am I making somebody else uncomfortable by coming on too strong? Like, there's other rules. It's not just like, oh, well, if you can have sex outside of marriage, it's a free-for-all.
I cannot believe what this Teen Vogue piece of trash has printed in its June edition. They are teaching children 11 through 17, that's the target audience of this magazine, how to be safely gender fluidity. Oh yeah, Lena and Grace Dunham, real role models for our teenagers.
I have a lot of delightful thoughts about the activist mommy, but she is terrified of sex education, and she actually talks to other parents about removing sex ed from schools.
It doesn't stop you from having the reactions, it just makes you feel shameful about it. Just because people have access to information about safe sex, it doesn't mean they have to have sex. You still have the choice. Like, it goes back to consent. You can still choose whether or not to engage. You can still choose to wait until marriage. Like, it's not an attack on that. You can choose not to do it. But isn't it good to have the information out there so if someone does want to do it, they do it safely?
Level of ignorance in this is mind-blowing to me, because 100% of 100 statistics show that when children, teens, whatever, young adults are empowered by information, that they make wise choices based on that information. All statistics also show that abstinence-only education actually pushes up sexual activity. Comprehensive sex education delays it by 2 years.
Oh my God.
On an average.
Because you're wondering about it and you don't have any information, so you have to check it out for yourself.
Yeah. And then when you check it out for yourself, you don't have a condom because no one told you about it. And maybe you're trying to preserve your virginity, so you do take the backdoor route. It's actually happened to some Christian girls that I know.
And then that's also when you get into sketchy situations where like people may not have education as to like what enthusiastic consent is.
Right.
And so then your child might be in a compromising situation because they don't know, oh, I can speak up for myself. I can say I'm comfortable with this, but not comfortable with that. Like, here are my boundaries. They might just be like, oh, I'm here, and we've already started kissing, so I have to do whatever they want me to.
Exactly. That is truly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's real.
One woman wrote me and asked me if her husband had her because she had told him she didn't want to have sex. She woke up in the middle of the night, he was having sex with her. And I said, well, do you feel like you need to call the police and have him locked in jail? True is when you're assaulted against your will by some stranger.
Oh my God. She literally like defined and then was like, is it? No.
Exactly.
If anybody touches you without your permission, especially like that situation in particular, that's just it's so sad. That makes me really sad. You have a right to decide what happens to your own body in totality. No is a complete sentence, even with your husband, even with those closest to you.
So this next clip is Jackie Hill Perry. She considers herself SSA, or same-sex attracted, which is a term that a lot of LGBTQ people within the church take on in lieu of saying, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, because they don't want to make their sexuality a part of their identity, which is how they see it. So they see it as this, like, it's an attraction. It's something, it's a thing that I have to work out versus a part of who they are. So Jackie is married. She has 2 children, and this is a little bit about her story.
And she's married to a man.
She's married to a man.
Okay.
To assume that somebody coming to the Lord who is same-sex attracted, that somehow you will become straight, that somehow you'll just desire marriage overnight, as if having heterosexual desires are actually a fruit of the spirit and not self-control.
I mean, like, if that is the life that brings her, like, the most happiness and the most joy, then, like, who am I to say, don't do that, like, that's wrong. I just know, like, for me as someone who identifies as a lesbian, like, I only have, like, romantic interest in women. That would be so lonely, like, to be married to a man. I could never, like, look into a man's eyes and, like, hold a man's hand and, like, feel connected in partnership in the way that I do with my girlfriend. I hope that what she gets out of feeling as though she needs to do this to honor her connection with God is enough to counterbalance how lonely her relationship, I'd imagine, feels.
I appreciate you being so diplomatic and sweet about it, and that just goes to show Alexis's character for me and how she really practices what she preaches. I saw you struggling through this because it's something I imagine you really innately disagree with, which I do too, but at the same time you're projecting this level of respect that says, if that's your belief system and that's your choice, you're making an autonomous decision, and I will humbly accept that as your reality and allow you to live that way without giving you a hard time about it. So I think that's amazing. That's a good way to be with us as Christians when we're practicing it in reverse. Imagine a reverse. If I was forced into a union with a woman, or let's not be as extreme, if I was forced into a union with someone, anyone that I did not connect with, that I didn't feel attracted to, that I didn't feel like I could share the depth of my secrets, that I couldn't be full and whole in my sexuality and my expression of that, then yes, I would feel incredibly lonely. And ultimately, I believe that God does express love through the connection of sexuality, and that sexuality is really important in that way. And I don't think we should be robbing anyone of that due to genitalia, which is really what it comes down to. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this conversation, especially if you made it all the way to the bitter end. Again, this is Alexis G. Zall. I will attach her channel below, and please go check out the video that we made together. I do have little bits of anxiety about, like, oh, am I gonna come off too harsh, or am I making fun of my people too much? And I'm sure I will get those criticisms, but at the end of the day, I do have to stand behind what Alexis wrote and what we did together, because I do think it accurately shows how abusive and harmful these things can be that we as Christians tell our children. I just want us to be more thoughtful about that and carve out a more positive path to how we're educating the little ones, which is so important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's heightened and it's satirical and it's a comedy.
Don't forget to laugh.
Yeah, don't forget to laugh. It's been like a really amazing experience, like talking with Brenda before writing the video and like researching and her sharing all of this world with me. It's just like really eye-opening because it's not something that I'm confronted with on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to say, if any of you are struggling with same-sex attraction or, you know, any of this stuff that we've talked about today, it's okay. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a life for you, and there's a safe space for you, and there's enough of a life for me that like I don't even see this stuff. So there's people out there for you, even if it's not necessarily the people that you're surrounded by or have been raised by.
And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, donate to my Patreon or Venmo if you can. We love you guys. God bless.